My name is Marissa Trent. I am 28 years old, and I live in the picturesque town of Cedar Valley. On the outside, I seem like just another hardworking technology specialist at a mid-sized software company, but I have always had a knack for creative problem-solving, and I often see the world differently than most. I enjoy coding, designing systems, and collaborating with my colleagues. However, I also believe deeply in fairness and hard work. I put my heart into every project, so when I see my coworkers slacking off, it really irritates me. One of those coworkers was Janet. Janet was entirely uninterested in pulling her weight. I often caught her playing solitaire when she was supposed to be working, and it infuriated me to see her lounging in her office with the door closed while the rest of us scrambled to meet tight deadlines. I felt the weight of her presence like an anchor dragging our team down. I couldn't just sit back and let her get away with it anymore. I was determined to teach her a lesson. I spent nights thinking about how I could take control of the situation, and a mischievous idea began to form. I had a background in programming and an understanding of how to manipulate certain software. My plan was to make sure that every time Janet tried to play her beloved solitaire, it would crash her computer instead. She would be forced to confront her slacker habits, and I would have some sweet revenge. First, I pulled up the solitaire executable file in a hexadecimal editor, a program that allows you to modify files at the most technical level. I diligently blanked out a crucial section of the file. I was careful to ensure that it wouldn't create a huge stir or give any clues. I never wanted Janet to know it was me. Once this was done, I reset my system date and time to match the other Windows files, creating a seamless integration for anyone checking the logs. I felt like a mastermind out of a thrilling heist movie. It was midnight the next day when I told my friend at work to watch discreetly as I loaded the sabotaged program onto Janet's computer. I paced nervously outside her office door, glancing down the hall to ensure that no one caught on to my little scheme. I nearly squealed with delight when I saw Janet approaching. This would be perfect. She booted up her computer, clicked on her favorite game, and just like clockwork, the screen froze, and then the entire computer crashed. I burst into laughter inside, imagining the look on her face. But in the moment of my glee, I completely underestimated the chaos that was about to unfold. I did not account for how Janet would react to the situation. Instead of confronting me or complaining directly, she skillfully twisted what was happening. She never mentioned that she was even trying to start the game. Instead, she approached our boss, Steve, with her usual faux innocent expression and began painting a picture of a mysterious computer problem that just seemed to appear. The more time went by, the more fueled Steve's curiosity grew. He had been trying to figure out why her computer kept crashing, and instead of admitting her guilt, Janet only fanned the flames. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion, and from my corner, I felt a physical tightening in my stomach. My carefully laid plans were turning into a monstrous disaster. Steve, who had always been a great manager, became increasingly frazzled as Janet continued to complain about her problems. It turned into a horrible game of cat and mouse. Each time she went to him, he would dive deeper into his tech knowledge, trying to get to the bottom of the issue with a new approach, while Janet sat back with her trademark smirk, laughing it off as a mere coincidence. I felt like I was in too deep, realizing I had transformed my light-hearted revenge plot into a spiraling nightmare. The consequences were spiraling out of my control. I had hoped for a moment of satisfaction, a chance for Janet to learn her lesson, but instead, I found myself only causing more chaos and confusion within our workplace. Had I unleashed a monster that was going to ruin Steve's trust in the entire team? I had set out to create a simple revenge story, but now I had unintentionally magnified the problem. The frustrated conversations and unnecessary meetings piled up. Finally, there came a time when I was called in to help solve the mystery of why Janet's computer was acting up so much. My heart raced as I stepped into the office, knowing I had planted the seeds of this problem. I had to confront my mistake head-on, but I knew I would never confess to my role in it. Instead, I decided to use this as an ultimate opportunity for a swift conclusion. In a quiet moment, I resolved to come clean with my knowledge about software, but I pretended it was all just to help find a solution for Janet. I promised Steve that I would look into some files and quickly, before anyone even had a chance to suspect me, I put together a plan to restore Janet's computer to working order. I cleverly stated I would need a few hours to run tests, and while I did, I also replaced the file back to the original version, fixing any crashes. As I worked, I realized that maybe my initial approach had been too harsh. Even though I felt justified in my rage, perhaps a calm discussion about work responsibilities would have sufficed. Nevertheless, I felt a sense of satisfaction as I removed the anxiety from our workspace, returning it back to normalcy. Janet returned to her desk, oblivious to my role in her distraction, but her behavior shifted after the crash saga. Eventually, she began to participate more, no longer lounging alone behind closed doors. I had learned my lesson about revenge, too. It often leads to more trouble and unintended consequences, and a lighter heart might just work better than petty tricks. My coworkers might never know the truth about what truly happened, but from that day forward, I decided to focus on cultivating a positive work environment instead of letting my anger dictate my actions. Little by little, I started seeing the value in promoting a team that supported one another. In the end, it was a strange twist of fate that my plan to get revenge morphed into something much more meaningful. I came out of that experience a little wiser, knowing that revenge often leads only to disruption, whereas forgiveness can foster a positive change. In the peaceful halls of Cedar Valley, I began nurturing teamwork instead.